Welcome to the Industry Insider, brought to you by PROMOCORNER. Each week, promotional product professionals Meg Erber, Jeff Franklin, and Stephen McFadden, along with special guests, will discuss industry news, trends, and events with a focus on educating the promotional products industry. The Industry Insider, the nerdy news you need to know.
Well, I mean, since Meg is going to go ahead and bust in here with her intro, I guess we'll start this one off differently today, huh? All right. Welcome back to another episode of the Industry Insider, your promotional products podcast where you can get all the nerdy news you need to know about. My name is Jeff Franklin, National Accounts Manager with Headwear USA, and I'm joined today by three other lovely folks. But of course, before we get to them, we got to tell you about our fine sponsors for this episode, and it is PPAI with the Expo. So take it away.
Are you looking for ways to make your business more successful in 2023? The PPAI Expo is the best place to find the connections you need to make that happen. On top of networking while on the show floor, you have the opportunity to attend targeted networking events designed to meet your specific needs. These events and experiences include the Chairs Leadership Dinner, Women's Leadership Conference Social, Spark Networking Reception, Technology Leaders Networking Event, and Promopalooza, the PPAI Expo Party. Find your people and grow your network at the PPAI Expo in 2023. See the full schedule of events at ppai.org/expo. Limited spots are available for each event, so be sure to register today.
Whew, I am winded after having to read all that. Let me tell you.
Those are so nice.
I'm actually really looking forward to that party this year. Like, I obviously didn't go last year because I was sick, but I'm looking forward to it. That looks so much fun.
I didn't get a chance to look, but is it back at the Raiders Stadium again?
It is.
Yeah.
So I did it last year, and it was incredible. Actually, we get to walk through like the locker room, and then you end up on the field. And we ate dinner beforehand. We wish we didn't because like it said just like light hors d'oeuvres. Light hors d'oeuvres were like steak sandwiches and fried chicken and waffles, and there was someone there making handmade cigars and stuff. Like it was all sorts of crazy cool stuff. So
that is cool.
It was quite the experience.
Sounds like they stepped up the promotional products party then from years prior.
They did. Yes, it's not just a big club where you can't see anybody and you don't know who that is on your left. So
or hear anybody.
Is it like a dress warm type of thing? I can't remember if that stadium was
it's domed. You're good. Yeah,
okay.
All right. So Meg, Stephen, since you guys have both talked already, I'm going to assume you're both good. Yes?
Yeah, we're good. We're fine.
Wonderful. Fine. Glad to hear it.
3 weeks away from our move. Sorry.
Do you have a personalized koozie there, Meg? Is that what that is?
I did. It's because I'm the best. They said it,
nice.
So I am. I don't see it under you guys, the best. I'm the best.
I don't see.
But are you 40 under 40, Meg?
No.
Are you Rising Star, Meg?
Nope.
Are you MAS, Meg?
Just the best.
Fair enough. All right. Well, we're joined today by a very special guest, Dr. Professor Brian Taillon from East Coast Carolina University, right?
East Carolina University.
East Carolina. Right. Sorry, I said it incorrectly. Pardon me. I know you guys are the Pirates, and we like to say "R" and all that good stuff. But Brian, how are you doing today?
I'm great. I'm super excited to be here and appreciate the invitation. So thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I'm super pumped to have you on here. It's always awesome to have a different perspective on the podcast. And the reason we brought you on today is obviously to talk about why on earth would you unleash Stephen McFadden on your entire student body. But before we get to that, we do want to ask just a couple introductory questions, or at least one introductory question. And maybe like how you, since you're not in our industry, maybe how you came to find out about the promotional products industry, because it's not something that a whole lot of people outside of the industry know about. It's like the biggest industry that nobody knows about. It's so weird.
And who you are, too. That would be
also, we want you to tell us who you are. Because normally we say, hey, tell us who you are and how you got your start in the promotional product industry. So tell us who you are and how you came to find out about the promotional product industry.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to take your job. You're slipping.
Good luck with that, Mike.
I'm an assistant marketing professor at East Carolina University, and I've been at ECU now for going on 6 years. but I've always been in marketing. And that was my undergrad, that was my master's, that was the PhD. So I've lived in this marketing world for a really long time, and I've met a lot of really cool promotions people. But honestly, my only involvement in the industry, other than educating, the students in my class about promotions, is when I've had to work with it myself, when I've had, an event or something going on where, promotions was a great opportunity to make impact. So
That's awesome.
very cool.
So tell us a little bit about the course that you teach. I'm really interested to learn about that.
So I teach the capstone marketing strategy course, and for us at ECU, it's a culmination of all of the classes the students have had so far. So their principles class, their consumer behavior class, marketing intelligence or marketing research, and we try to put things together. And usually the class is focused on one of the 4 Ps, whether it's product, price, place, or promotion, working with a local business in the community to come up with a plan to help the company accomplish some marketing goals and objectives. And so the students work all semester long with a client, and we put together a plan for them. And I'll have to say, most of the time, the companies that we work with, the focus is on promotion. Not always promotion products, but the promotional aspect of marketing. And so the students are exposed to it in the class and through, the ideas that they come up with. But Stephen reached out to me this semester and was, pretty straightforward. As a graduate of ECU, he's like, hey, I don't remember talking about promotions in any of my marketing classes. And I was sort of like, yeah, that's probably a good point, because we talk about all of the other areas of marketing quite often. But this is, I think, a commonly forgotten about area, at least in the classroom. And so it was really cool to be able to connect with Stephen so that we could change that.
Yeah, so we definitely want to dive into Stephen's topic and discussion and all that good stuff. But I mean, that is definitely, I'm so glad that you brought it up. And Stephen, you couldn't have said it any more correctly, because I pulled this up. This is an old textbook. I mean, I'm dating myself now, if you guys know what this textbook is. But this was my marketing textbook when I went to school. And there's like no mention of promotional products in here at all. I mean, there's certainly, when they go through advertising, they talk about TV and radio and newspaper and direct mail or direct marketing, that sort of thing. But I mean, we're literally broken up into one word, and it's called giveaways. And I don't even think they go into it. But I mean, this is a $25 billion industry. So I absolutely applaud Stephen. I love what you did. And I really think that, more promotional products professionals need to do that more often and reach out to everyone. But I have, some other questions that, Brian, I don't know if you'd be able to help us out with or not, but how do we get more involved in the curriculum outside of doing things like Stephen did? How do we get in the textbooks?
So I'll just say it was really exciting to receive the email from Stephen with the offer to come into the classroom, because as an educator, we're always looking for opportunities to bring people into the classroom that can share their personal experience, that can share what they're doing in the industry and relate it to what we're doing in the classroom. And so this was just a really great opportunity to be able to do that. And I'll have to, you're right. We talk about advertising. We talk about personal selling. We talk about all these other things. But this industry is huge. And it's not every day that we can find a Stephen to come into the classroom that can share the sort of insight that he has, the background that he has. And I think that given the time that he spent in the classroom, he opened a lot of minds, that were not probably, looking at promotions. That wasn't perhaps on the radar, but was able to share his experience and leave students thinking like, oh, wow, that's different. That's new. I hadn't heard that before. So that was really cool to see some of the realization that there's this whole other world of marketing that the students were not all that familiar with up until then.
That's really interesting to hear. And I guess we're in it, and we've all been in it pretty much our entire lives, at least our adult careers. And so it's all that's all there is. Like, we're in our own little bubble. So to hear that, like, it's not even really being taught in schools, and I guess, and it makes sense because none of us went to school for it. We all kind of just fell into it, or we were born into it. Because we ask that question to every single guest that comes on. How did you get your start in the industry? And like, I would say, what, 93%, 95% of them just fell into it, right? Oh, just fell into it. But we've basically gotten as far as we have on luck, I guess, and volunteers and just, hey, let's just shoot our shot and throw a bunch of shit at the wall and see what sticks. Can you imagine if we were actually teaching this at universities? I mean, I don't know. I just love this industry so much. I volunteer and have my hands in a bunch of different things because I care about the betterment of this industry. So I think that what you did, Stephen, is by going in and talking to these people who are your age, a little bit younger than you, and they kind of see that, and it probably resonates a lot. And I really feel like that would be awesome for more universities to be teaching that.
Well, and Brian, maybe you don't know sort of the makeup of the industry, but we are 97% small business. And Stephen, that may have been one of the facts that you brought to the students. But I mean, it's made up by primarily small business. So we have associations that sort of help advocate for us because like I said, it's a $25 billion industry, but it's 97% small business. So we can't really do a lot of that on our own. We rely on the associations to do that for us. And I know PPAI is working on that sort of thing. I don't know if it's through AMA or what they're doing. It may be a follow-up episode for us to do with PPAI to learn more about that, whether it's through Promotional Products Works or some other avenue through PPAI. But I would love to hear Stephen about sort of why you decided to do this and tell us about what you sort of presented or taught.
Yeah, so it's obviously a discussion that we've had on the podcast with being, what's kind of the next step? Like, what's the next step for the industry? And I heard it was several years ago at a SKUCon event. It was Catherine Graham, and she was giving a little presentation on the marketing industry as a whole. And she had this big pie graph of total sales and marketing, and it basically showed our piece of the pie as it relates to all the marketing spend. And her point was not like, how do we grow as companies, which is, I took business that used to be Jeff's and now it's mine, which keeps the same amount of business in the industry. It's how do we validate ourselves as an industry where we can take more of the pie? Like, if it's a, several $100 billion industry, how do we go from 25 to 30 based on it being a good avenue to spend, like it being a good resource for companies to invest in. And that's really where I think over the past couple of years, even, we've noticed where digital spend went crazy, but then it got crowded. And I think that's why the promotional industry dipped when it did, but now how it's come back as fast as it's come back, because companies are realizing that promotional products have a place in their marketing plan. And I think what it is we all know about it, but we don't know what the industry is really as a whole. And like what those look like. Is it a retail piece? Is it is this consumer product? Is this promotional products? So I'm echoing somewhere. Is that me? My bad.
No, I don't think so. So, okay. Stephen, I have a follow-up question then with the pie chart that you mentioned. Were you able to get that from Catherine to use for the class?
I didn't, and actually, this kind of leads into what the class was about. So I did two classes in Dr. Taillon's class, and they were not necessarily what the promotional products industry was. It was a quick introductory to the industry, but then what I did was I had kind of three areas where I basically took the whole class from the perspective of the promotional products industry and taught on marketing strategies, which is what the course was about anyways, and tied that into the promotional products industry. So it was kind of like a real world example of here's how these strategies that we're seeing from our perspective are being used in marketing currently, and how this kind of relates to what they're already learning about. And then I actually did 3 demo companies as things that they could practice live in class on day one, which then led up to a homework assignment that I gave them, which I kind of felt bad about, but it was pretty cool. I made them all come back and present on the second day, kind of Shark Tank style, and I'll let Dr. Taillon chime in on that in a minute. But those were actually real customers we had with real projects. So I took 3 of my actual customers and actual projects and let them come up with like ideas and solutions for them using promotional products and one of the strategies that I talked about. So it was pretty cool. I did do a follow-up class, and we can probably get into it in a minute, but not with Dr. Taillon, but with the AMA Association. And that one was strictly about what the promotional products industry was. And that one I went into a lot of graphs and charts and details of the industry. And even one of the things I talked about was compensation, because people, if they don't know what they can get paid in this industry, it may not be, they may not care about it. So I'm like, you can make some legitimate money at different levels, whether it be supplier side, distributor side, service provider. Like there's some real money to be made. So that was a lot long-winded, but that gives you an idea.
Yeah, the reason I asked about the pie chart, because I think that's really incredible information to have, and especially when we're talking about potentially getting into curriculum, because I mean, just proving how the efficacy of promotional products is so much better than all the other advertising mediums. But then we're such a, whatever the slice of the pie is, it should be so much bigger, so much, there should be a lot more spend driven towards promotional products because of the efficacy. But Brian, I want to ask you a follow-up question from Stephen's course. Was there anything in particular about our industry that you learned that you didn't already know?
I learned a ton. The whole class really learned a ton. And so like Stephen mentioned, he came in for 2 classes. It was so cool. So I got this email like, hey, can I come into your classroom? And I'm like, yeah, great, come on in. And then he's like, can I come into 2 classes? Because I've got this idea. And I'm like, yes, come into 2 classes. And so it was like, I took the week off. Like I was done. Like this was great. So Stephen came in and he was like, okay, class, here's 3 strategies for, promotion, storytelling, engagement, reciprocity. Here's examples, and walked them through all of it. And the class was like, wow, we've not talked about promotion strategies like this before. And then Stephen was like, okay, now you have homework. Come up with a pitch. Here's a company. Here's the scenario. Here's the challenge. And they were like little cases. And he said, all right, now put a pitch together using one of the strategies that I just told you about. And the students are kind of looking at me like, wow, this just got real. But it was cool though, because the next, that night and the next day I was getting emails like, hey, do you think this would be okay? And when he mentioned this, is this, and so they were working, and the students were, doing this as homework. And then they came to class and they were like, okay, here's our ideas. And it was, when he said Shark Tank style, it was totally, I mean, he gave me graphics, we put up the music. I mean, it was Taillon Tank, and it was completely legit.
This is
and
the
class, the class, I mean, it was, I loved the alliteration, and I didn't have to explain the metaphor. The students already think I'm a shark. So it was really cool. And they presented their ideas, and they got feedback from somebody in the industry. And then at the end, he was like, oh, and by the way, this is how it played out. This is what we ended up doing. And so it was just completely full circle. So for me, I was just sitting there like, my job is done. This is great. These students know promotion now. At least they have an introduction to it with somebody with a lot of experience and who knows a lot of the ins and outs. And at the same time, you mentioned, how do you get in the class? We've got students that are really talented that might just not know about your company or your industry all that well, but are really motivated, really great students. And I say, like, come in and get them, like, come and get them, because you could find, I think, some really talented individuals that could contribute tremendously to the industry. And they've got interesting backgrounds and could really, I think, fit well. So instead of falling into it, come and get them. Pull them into it. Like, come and get them.
See, Brian, you kind of ruined it for me, because I was going to tease Steven there a little bit. I was going to say he was starving for ideas and he had to get the student body to give him a bunch of pitches so that he could pitch the best one.
Yeah.
But then you said he already chose one, and this was a past example of what he had done and gave what they did. So you kind of ruined it. But I had an opportunity there to really harass Steven.
You wanted to roast me. I know.
So I have questions for both Steven and you as well, Brian. So you kind of touched on it. I really want to know what your biggest takeaway was. But as a second question, what is your favorite promotional product out there? Like, what is your favorite promotional product?
So my favorite is
He's not even looking.
I've got this plastic piece that goes on like for my car to hold my cell phone.
I thought you were going to say nugget. I thought you were going to say like the nugget.
The dip trip.
No. Yeah. No. So that's my favorite, because otherwise I would probably be more dangerous on the road. So that's able to, make my vehicle a lot safer. But yes, so that was my favorite. And was there another question? I can't remember.
Well, basically, what was the biggest takeaway? Like, I get that you had all this great feedback, but what was your biggest takeaway from that course?
So for me, I didn't two things. I didn't realize the size of the industry. Like, I didn't get that. And so this was an eye opener for me, because I'm like, wow. But my other takeaway was like, what tremendous opportunity there is in the industry for my students. And so I think that was also something for me that was, as I move forward and as I approach this class again, but by the way, I'm totally stealing Steven's ideas. If he's not available to come into the classroom, we're going to be there. We're going to have a promotions lecture. Nice. and we're going to have presentations. We're going to do that. So, for me, it was just seeing more about the industry from an expert, and also the opportunities for my students in it. So
I love that. And then
I was going to say, Meg, to follow up on that, kind of on a couple things that he mentioned. So I briefly mentioned this, that I did a follow-up class or a different class last week, actually, with AMA. And that being an elective or a club, it was, people had the option of not being there. So the fact that people showed up, for one, I was like, oh, awesome. Like these are people that are probably interested, because they didn't have to come. So, but the class is supposed to go for an hour. And at the end of the hour, and this one was strictly about the promotional industry, I said, hey, I'm done. We're kind of wrapping up here, but if anyone wants to stay and ask questions, I'll hang out. 35 minutes later, kids were still in there asking questions about the industry, about jobs, about our company and how we do stuff. And 4 or 5 of them afterwards, I got their information. They're interested in jobs or internships or getting connected. And they were all asking, what do we need to do between now and when we graduate in May? Like, what classes should we take, or what training can we do? So like that quick, I mean, that was like 15-20% of the people that showed up, they're interested. So I'm like, that is super cool. And it wasn't expected. It was more just there to share, but it's like, maybe that's all it takes, so. And
that's how we recruit fresh talent. It's how we change the perception of the industry. One of you said it, maybe it was you, Jeff. You said the only thing they talked about with promotional products was that there were giveaways, right? We need to change the perception to the end user and elevate the industry by changing the terminology too. We're not about tchotchkes and giveaways and freebies anymore. So I think that's a big part of it. And this is where we should start. We start at this level where people don't even know about it, and we just give them the best experience from the ground up. So my question for you, Steven, was, what was the best? Because there always has to be a winner. There's always a winner. Who is the best Shark Tank? And was it the same one that you?
It wasn't Shark Tank, Meg. It was Taillon Tank. Come on.
Tank. Okay, sorry.
Oh, you're saying what is my favorite Shark Tank episode or product?
What was your favorite Taillon Tank?
Oh, so to set it up, so I didn't realize this at the very end of class 1. Dr. Taillon comes up and I'm like, he's like, so how many points do you want to give away for this thing? And I'm like, points? I'm like, I don't know your curriculum, man. I can't just be giving points away. Like, and he's like, he's like, you're Willy Wonka, man. You run the show. I'm like, all right, like 10. He's like, sure. I'm like, okay. So we actually made it worth 10 bonus. But as I was reading off the items, I'm like, some of these are more difficult than others. So I made the easiest one 10 points, the next one 11, highest points you can earn 11, and then the last 12. And so what I did was it was kind of a curve, right? So, if you took the harder one, you could probably mess up a little bit more and still end up with similar points. And there were, I can't think of one in particular that like blew me away. There were several really good ones, but one of the things I think we talked about was we were surprised by the effort that went in, because I didn't think, personally, I was like, I didn't know what they were going to show up to, because there were questions at the end like, do we need to have a PowerPoint? Like, do we need to have, and Dr. Tan was like, well, yeah, it's a presentation, like come prepared, and so they did. Like some of them had 10, 12 page PowerPoints with some people like redrew products, and I was like, you could have gone on the websites, but like that was still like a lot of effort that somebody like took to like mock up pieces and show different things. So I was really just impressed with the amount of effort that was put in.
That's awesome.
Like
how much time did each person have to present? Was it individuals, or was it a group, like small groups?
I made, so the format of the class is really neat. It's different from when I was there, when we were all literally in like fish bowls. But now it's groups of tables together. So they're already sitting in groups, and there's actually a TV at the end of each table set, as well as a big one in the back. So when we say that we had the Shark Tank thing going on, every TV had this graphic with moving water, and there's a big sound system in there. And we were playing the dun 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 dun, like as they all. So it was pretty cool. So we just grouped them up by the tables that they were in, and they each had like 5 to 10 minutes, I think is what we gave them. And then I asked a few follow-up questions, and then I waited to the very end, and then we went group by group and gave them some feedback, and then announced their bonus points out loud to the whole class about how many they got. So I think there was a like a 10 out of 12 or a 10 out of 11 one, and then there was some 9s out of 11s, 9s out of 12s. There were some 5s or 6s that probably deserved 4s, but we were feeling nice.
Are they the quiet quitters, Steven? Are they the quiet quitters?
No, they just, missed a key piece, like having a promotional product or something.
Well, I think it's a really good topic. I think it's like a really good PSA on like ways we can just even elevate the perception of our industry, but bringing in fresh new talent. I love the idea, Steven. You get a 10 out of 10 for me, almost the best, almost. So. And Brian, thank you. I mean, you're not even in our industry, so having your perspective on all of this is like really incredible. And I think that feedback on the phone stands is pretty cool too, because it is. Those are great promotional products. They're great giveaways. You've got whoever gave that to you. You see their name all the time right in front of you. So noted.
So Brian, like I said earlier, I did wanted to find out if you had any suggestions as far as potentially, how does one break into the curriculum for something like that? That's such a large key piece of the advertising or marketing world. Do you have any suggestions, or is that something that's completely beyond your scope?
I think, to be honest with you, anyone who reached out for me in the industry, whether it's promotions or another area of marketing, would reach out to me and ask to come to the classroom to share their experience. I mean, I couldn't imagine turning that down. And I think that university partnerships are great, because they give to the university the knowledge and the experience, and then at the same time, hopefully the students can show some interest and show the talent, some of the experience that they have, and it could be a great relationship. And so I say reach out to your marketing faculty at your local university or community college, and I think you would be welcomed with open arms.
And I'll echo that. I know we're wrapping up here. PPAI, I know Lindsay Davis over there. She's there now working on the promotional products work. I know they're developing tools as well as data. And then I know ASI does their end of year data report, consumer report, as far as the industry and top products and trends and all that. So, you lean on those lean on ASI and PPAI both to get, data. So you're not going in this blind, right? That info is out there. PPI's got tons of great resources, and it's really just a simple ask. I think the easiest answer to your question, Jeff, is my goal is to continue to do more of this if I'm welcome back. If I bombed, I mean, I don't know that I'll be invited back, but it, continue to do stuff like this, and then eventually, build that relationship with my alumni and say, hey, like, what does this look like on a bigger scale? Is there a way to do, partner with another professor and do some sort of an online curriculum or something like, we as an industry, I think, could put together something where it's full of guest speakers with different perspectives that would explain the entire industry over a semester. I mean, it could be someone from PPI, someone from ASI, it could be a distributor head, it could be a factory lead, someone that expands on the whole thing, but that has to be developed and put together as a curriculum that you can pitch, particularly to a place that you have a relationship with who would even entertain it. So,
I would actually challenge PPAI and ASI to put that together for people that do want to do this, just so that we've got something, behind us to go into a situation like that, because not everybody's as prepared or has as much experience as you do, Stephen. So
sure.
That's the one scary thing about it being 95 or 97% small business. You could have anybody going into a college and teaching
True.
Something that might not necessarily be as bombshell as what you put out. So I think having that behind us to give us that information or curriculum, if you will, to go in would be awesome.
Jeff, just real quick, you mentioned all the small businesses as well. The university can also be a great resource for new ideas, and there may be a marketing class that might be able to help that small business put together a marketing plan to help other areas. So from an operational perspective, the marketing aspect. That's another avenue to think about as well.
Yeah, that's perfect.
So final question,
right.
should I, if I had 10 points that I was able to get bonus wise, what would my score have been?
10.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I had to say.
I would have turned it up to 11, Stephen. I got
Oh yeah. Okay. I can't take any more of this.
I would have given you a 9. Tried harder next time.
You know what, Meg? I appreciate that. I need room for improvement. So. You
win and you learn. It's how it is.
Yeah.
There you go. Well, listen, Brian, I really appreciate you coming on and joining us. It's been awesome to have that perspective, and I really appreciate you allowing Stephen to come in and sort of teach East Carolina University a little bit about the promotional products industry. All right. Until next time, take care, guys.
Are you looking for ways to make your business more successful in 2023? The PPAI Expo is the best place to find the connections you need to make that happen. On top of networking while on the show floor, you have the opportunity to attend targeted networking events designed to meet your specific needs. These events and experiences include the Chairs Leadership Dinner, Women's Leadership Conference Social, Spark Networking Reception, Technology Leaders Networking Event, and Promopalooza, the PPAI Expo Party. Find your people and grow your network at the PPAI Expo in 2023. See the full schedule of events at ppai.org/expo. Limited spots are available for each event, so be sure to register today.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Promo Corner's Industry Insider. For more great content from industry thought leaders, including podcasts, blogs, and videos, visit promocorner.com.